Hey everybody, we're on another segment talking about real estate. One of the things I wanted to go through, and I mentioned in a past video that I would go through, is really an understanding of the differences between the last housing cycle of 2007 and 2008 and this current cycle. And that's the information we have plugged in here. The reason I want to go through this is same conversations I've brought up quite a bit. You know, the media, the general feeling, a lot of times people feel like we're going to be in a position where there's going to be a housing crash or a big drop in home prices, whether that's crash or not. Um, I want to go through the likelihood of that. And you saw from a previous video, if you were able to jump in, I did a video on the history of home values up and down. And you can see, you know, historically speaking, there's a 90% time frame where home values have gone up. And if you take out a couple of those years where they went down a percent or less, we've only had a few years, really, what, 5 years, where home values have ever gone down more than even 1%. So I want to go through why we're not fearful of that at this current market with this current market. Obviously, we can't guarantee anything. So, you know, there is a point whatever percent chance that home prices could go down, you know, larger than 1%. But it's going to be super unlikely. And here's a good example of why. So let's go through 2007, 2008 housing cycle, and let's go through our current one. You know, 2007, 2008, as you can see, one of the big things that obviously dictates people being able to buy houses and stay in their houses is going to be their job, right? If people are employed, making money, making house payments comfortably, then we're in a position where everything, you know, will continue on. House prices will keep going up. People will stay in their homes, want to buy new homes, so on and so forth. You can see that in 2007, 2008, the job cuts, unemployment rate actually got up to about 10% during the 2007, 2008 and aftermath that hit. 10% of the portion of our country that can work was unemployed. That's massive number of people that were unemployed during the time frame. Right now, and obviously these numbers change every month. So depending on when you're watching this, this isn't going to be perfect by any means. But most recently, unemployment was at like 3.6%. So we're talking about millions of more people employed in this current market. You can see the total jobs back in 2007, 2008, there's 138 million people with jobs back during that time frame. We're now at 161 million people who are actively employed, making money, available to be able to make house payments, so on and so forth. That's 23 million more people employed than what we had during that last housing cycle. 23 more million people that can make house payments, buy houses, so on and so forth, because they actively have income coming in. The other big piece that came into play, and everybody knows a little bit about this, or at least knows the stupidity that often came with this, is subprime lending. So subprime lending is examples of no documentation mortgages. So during 2007, 2008, this was obviously prevalent. I'm sure you've seen movies and so on and so forth about it. People, you know, one of the things that I heard from a different commentary was that you either had to fog a mirror or you had to be able to spell your name. You didn't have to do both to get a mortgage. And that was during obviously the 2007 and prior period. So people were getting home loans that really could not afford the home. And obviously that caused major issues. Today, there's virtually no subprime loans. There are some, I will still say, but they're very different and they have super high requirements that if you're going to go that direction, you got to put down a lot of money. Financial status otherwise has to be super strong, so on and so forth. So they're very rarely used because it's much easier just to qualify for a normal mortgage where you have to prove that you can pay your loan, make your payments, so on and so forth. The other thing that came into play was inventory. So this is the big piece that really comes into play now and why there's very little fear among people in real estate or economists that home values are going to decrease. And this is largely because back in 2007, 2008, we'll use these two markers as a good indicator. The 5-year history prior to 2007 and 2008, there was 7.65 million homes that were being built or that were built in the years prior to the major, catastrophe of 2007, 2008. Right now, the 5 years prior to where we're currently sitting, there's been 4.6 million homes built. So we're talking about 40% less new construction homes have been built in the 5 years prior to where we're at currently in comparison to the 5 years prior to 2007, 2008. So the amount of inventory that's available is the new inventory is super low. And obviously, you've noticed that in the market. If you've looked at houses at all, there's not as many houses to look at as what most people would want. If we go into the normal inventory, so not new construction homes, inventory on the market in that 2007, 2008 timeframe was around 4 million houses on the market for sale at that time. Right now, and these numbers have actually gone up a little bit in the most recent reports. So what I most recently saw, I believe, was right under a million. But based on when this chart was put together, about 800,000 houses were on the market for purchase. Even gone up a little bit here with houses staying on the market a little longer. But we're talking about almost 80% less houses are available for sale right now than where we were at that time frame. So if we have way less new construction homes that have come on the market, we have way less homes that are for sale on the market, and we still have way more people employed and available to buy houses. What do you think house prices are going to do, right? It's a supply and demand conversation. There's way less houses available than there used to be. There's way more people in a position to potentially qualify for a mortgage and qualify for a house. We're in a position where home prices are just going to have to increase because there's no homes available. The other pieces that come into play was mortgage delinquencies and foreclosures. This piece isn't as big, but obviously it still comes into play as far as, again, inventory available for people to buy. So in 2007, 2008 timeframe, there was mortgage delinquency. So people late on their mortgages got up to 10% for a while there. That's, again, coinciding with there being an unemployment rate of 10%, right? Houses in foreclosure, which obviously add to the inventory, was 4.6% for a time there. If we look over to our current housing cycle, 3.3% mortgage delinquency, which is an all-time low since, like it says, 1979. So people are able to make their payments, no problem currently. And homes in foreclosure is all the way down to 1.6%, or has been, which is, again, the lowest in 23 years. So a lot of people are like, well, what about when foreclosures come into play? That inventory is going to kick up, and then with all that extra inventory, home prices are going to drop. Well, guys, what foreclosures? We're talking significantly lower foreclosures than we've seen in a long, long time. What foreclosures are going to come in and affect that inventory on the market? There's not going to be very many. So we're in a considerably different position now. There's way less inventory from new construction. There's way less inventory from foreclosures. There's way less inventory available from people just trying to sell their house. And we have way more people in the workforce, way more people qualified to buy houses. You can do the math there, but these are the stats. And I wanted to make sure you had, that information. Let me know any questions. I'll do some more videos on current year home value increases, so on and so forth, along with our other videos that we'll do on just finance in general. Talk to you later.